right now on 5 on your side at 10.
Well, the heat is back, and so is the humidity. It felt like it was between 95 and 100 this afternoon and evening, and that's what we're going to have to stick around for the next couple of days. When we get a break from the heat, and we'll track our next chance for rain coming up.
Fighting hate with love.
I wanted to do this to call attention to the people that are facing this stuff every day.
The Webster Groves community steps up to help a business targeted in a hate crime. An outage knocks out systems at healthcare facilities in the Metro East, and now patients say they're the ones being left in the dark. Thanks for joining us. I'm Mark Maxwell. Mike Bush has the night off. We're following a developing story out of Illinois where an entire healthcare system is down due to a cyber attack. The outage at Hospital Sisters Health System started a week ago today. Things are still not yet back to normal. 5 on your side's Laura Barcheski spoke with a patient who is just one of many struggling right now. Laura?
Mark, this patient tells me without physically going into one of their hospitals, he's been unable to get his prescriptions refilled for medication he needs to survive, which on the surface might be doable for some, but in reality is a lot harder for others.
This is Brian Wilkerson. He's just one of thousands of patients in Illinois and Wisconsin affected by the Hospital Sisters Health System outage.
I've tried to call this whole past week, and my phone calls are dropped. They ring, the phone will ring 4 or 5 times, and then it just hangs up.
HSHS says all of their communication systems were compromised in what they called a cybersecurity incident. The latest statement came out on Friday.
We're receiving assistance from third-party experts, and we also are working with law enforcement. We have deployed additional security measures to safeguard our systems, and we have not detected any further unauthorized access in our IT environment.
Wilkerson says he takes roughly 13 medications a day and was told because of this outage he had to go to the hospital in person to refill his prescriptions. But he's wheelchair bound and a trip to the doctor is not an easy task for him or his senior neighbors in rural Illinois.
Drive 35 miles to the doctor, and then 35 miles to the pharmacy, and then 15 miles back home. So yeah, it's not just me. There's several seniors in this area are stuck fighting the same thing with healthcare.
HSHS has 11 offices and hospitals in Illinois affected by this cyber attack. St. Elizabeth's and O'Fallon had to close its convenient care, but said they were still able to treat emergency patients. They haven't said if patient information was compromised or when they'll be back up and running, which Wilkerson is even more worried about.
I just really hope it gets results, and I'm concerned more about my medical records being out there in no man's land now.
Today, the hospital system told us it is working with federal agencies. HSHS says the best place to get updates on the situation is a webpage they set up, hshsupdates.org, and we'll have a link to that on KSDK.com. Mark.
An important story, Laura. Thanks. Labor Day is almost here, but it's a day that's about a lot more than just cookouts, parties, or sales and discounts. The roots of the holiday are to celebrate the labor of workers and unions, of course, especially important this year, with many unions fighting for better work conditions, pay, and protections. Across the country, Hollywood writers and actors have been on strike against streaming companies, and locally, hundreds of local Teamsters were let go after picketing at Yellow Trucking last month. In the last few days, nurses at St. Louis University Hospital voted to authorize a strike if they don't get a new contract. There are some parades planned this Labor Day in the Metro East as well. Granite City has its Tri-City Labor Day Parade tomorrow morning at 10. Belleville's parade also starting at 10, and so does the Wood River East Alton Union Family Parade. And this year, there's no parade in downtown St. Louis. It's been a hot and humid day across the bi-state. Weather First meteorologist Gary Frank has our Labor Day forecast. Gary, what are we in for?
Well, it feels pretty good. About the same as what we had today, but maybe a few pop-up storms around. It's quiet at the moment, and we'll stay that way here into the overnight hours, but temperature's still mild at this time of the night. You know, it's your AC is working a little harder than it's been. At 10 o'clock, it's 82. It feels like 85. Our dew point at 69. Those were in the 50s just days ago, where it really felt like an early taste of fall. We've gone the other direction now. And like I mentioned, it's quiet. There is a small disturbance right now in Dallas, and that's what's going to be working its way toward us eventually. it doesn't look like much, right? And I don't really think it's going to do a lot for us overall. This is not a slam dunk rain chance. It's just still muggy overnight. We're going to drop to 75 degrees. Tomorrow, our sunset at 7:29. Overall, it's a nice holiday. I don't want you to cancel any plans because as humidity remains, we'll see small rain chances the next few days. That includes tomorrow as we continue to look at those isolated showers and thunderstorms over the next few days. Which parts of your day they may impact and when we'll finally see a return to the 80s and 60s in the morning.
All right, Gary, thanks. And of course, you can get our Weather First forecast on your phone. All you have to do is text the word weather to 314-425-5355. Tonight, police are investigating hate crimes in Webster Groves. That's after signs showing support for the Black and trans communities were set on fire or stolen. Diamond Palmer talked to one business owner who's fighting back.
This flag has flown for nearly 10 years untouched until this week's hate crimes in Webster Groves.
So I pulled up to work on Tuesday morning and noticed my flag was gone, but as I looked closer, I realized that someone had set it on fire. And then I later learned that my Save Trans Lives sign was stolen from my yard.
Kelly Stork, a therapist in Webster Groves, focuses on gender care. It's a job she's been doing for the last 15 years. Tuesday is when she says she felt anger. But that anger quickly turned to hope when she took to Facebook to make this post. She said, "I see you. You can keep your lighters and your bigotry and misguided power. We have love and truth on our side, and we are absolutely breathtakingly unstoppable." That's when she says 24 people dropped off signs, banners, and artwork to her office. Some reading Black Lives Matter and others reading Love Has No Gender.
I'm a white, cisgender, queer woman, and it was my flag and sign. Okay, it's another Tuesday. I wanted to do this to call attention to the people that are facing this stuff every day.
Stork's business on Big Bend Boulevard is just one of a few targeted in Tuesday's hate crimes. She says Webster Groves Police Department detectives have reached out multiple times about the incident, and they're still investigating. Her hope, though, is simple.
My hope is that these folks leave us alone. And I can sit in my office, and families can bring their kids to me, and I can help take care of them. And people will just leave them alone.
Pushing back against the hate, Stork is ready to take on the larger issues that Black and transgender communities face, even by taking her advocacy to state legislators.
I will show up to the protest. I will leave these flags in my yard forever if I need to.
As police continue their search for suspects, the store owner tells us she is now installing security cameras. Police are investigating a homicide in North St. Louis County. Officers got a call for a shooting just before 1:30 this afternoon on Gladstone Place. They found a man dead inside a home. Police say they believe the victim knew the shooter. No other details have yet been released. Anyone with information, please call Crime Stoppers. You can stay anonymous. That number, 866-371-TIPS. Tonight, about 70,000 people are trapped at the Burning Man Festival in Nevada because of flooding there. Police are now investigating after at least one person died. People at the festival are being told to conserve their water, food, and fuel. Even though they are being told to shelter in place, some are still walking miles through the mud to try and leave.
I have some kids that are home alone that I need to get back to. So I'm actually going to try to make a break for it. They're saying the gates are still closed, but I've got a four-wheel drive car, and I'm going to try to make it out.
Organizers still plan on keeping their tradition of burning the man tonight. Tonight, our Verified team is looking into negotiations on prescription drug prices. Ariande Till explains when some seniors could see those lower costs.
For the first time, Medicare is negotiating the price of prescription medication directly with drug companies. The landmark negotiating process was authorized as part of the Inflation Reduction Act. And now the White House has announced the first 10 drugs to be negotiated, including type 2 diabetes medications Jardiance and Farxiga. According to the Kaiser Family Foundation, Medicare recipients paid $3.4 billion out of pocket for these 10 drugs in 2022. Many Verified viewers have asked us questions about the drug price negotiations, including when people on Medicare might see a drop in prices. Some online posts claim any negotiated price changes won't go into effect until 2026. But is that true? Let's verify. According to our sources, the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, the first round of price negotiations will take place in 2023 and 2024. And both agencies confirmed that price changes won't go into effect until 2026. So we can verify it's true. Negotiated drug prices for Medicare are set to take effect in 2026. But that is only if negotiations stay on track. Drug makers are suing the government to try to delay or stop the negotiations altogether. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
If you'd like clarity on something you saw in the news, you can email verify@ksdk.com. Reunited after the Vietnam War, two soldiers who met in battle meet again half a century later. On the move this Labor Day, the best and worst times to travel on our local roads.
Doesn't look like much now, but this storm system off to our southwest is going to be responsible for our pop-up showers and storms. We'll look ahead to what this means for us and our best chance for rain over the next 3 days.
Making a Difference is sponsored by Midwest Bank Center.
Every day is a good day to honor our veterans. As we first told you last winter, we were there as two veterans were part of a special reunion that was more than 50 years in the making.
What you need to try to find is 125.
What's 125? What is that?
That's a route number.
There is never an easy route to the places that matter. And on this day,
it's exit number 76.
Two men are going in a new direction. The destination is Ashland, Illinois, a farming community about 120 miles in decibels from St. Louis.
I've always liked farming because you're your own boss. You can tell by the
Dale Edge lives and works on 400 acres, where it's been a good year for soybeans.
Now they're putting on pods and filling pods.
Edge has been farming this land practically all his life, except for the time when he traded in his work boots for army boots. The year was 1968, and Dale Edge was drafted to fight for his country in Vietnam.
I knew probably that I'd get drafted. I wasn't going to volunteer, but I wasn't going to run either.
But the Vietnam War was like a wound that never healed. Soldiers bravely faced the enemy, only to come home and face scorn as soon as their plane landed.
There's guys kissing the ground, glad to be back, glad to made it. And then when you go another 30 feet or from here to the car and they start screaming and hollering stuff at you, I ain't gonna repeat it.
That's why Dale took his feelings and his stories and buried them. Except for one story that needed an ending. And recently, after getting his first smartphone, he finally decided to solve the mystery by doing some checking on the internet. Then got up the courage to make a phone call.
I said, Dale, I got to be really honest. I don't know who you are. I said, he said, well, I understand that. It's 53 years ago. I can understand that.
73-year-old Fred Jorleen lives in Minnesota and works for Great Steps, a company that makes prosthetic and orthotic devices. And he's pretty popular with his clients.
They like people that are amputees because you can feel some of the stuff, and some people like that. You know, oh, you've got one? Okay, then I'm okay. This is all titanium.
Fred lost his leg during a firefight in Vietnam.
I got behind a tree, dropped down on this knee, this leg was up, and I was shooting around the tree, and an RPG hit right there, that side of the tree.
Dale remembers that attack.
Just like that lightning, boom, she went off. They throwed an RPG in on us. Before the medics got there, I put a tourniquet on Fred's leg.
And then he remembers keeping Fred calm and helping to get him on a medical evacuation chopper. Fred told him, I'm gonna see you at home.
I said, I'll never forget that, Fred. And I didn't.
They were in the same platoon, but didn't know each other that well before that day. Still, for more than half a century, Dale Edge wondered.
I didn't know if he lived. I wanted to know if he made it or not. Slow down, slow down.
That one phone call filled a void.
Yeah.
And then his heart was filled when Fred drove more than 560 miles for a reunion, more than 50 years in the making.
I'm doing fine, Fred.
Me too. Good to see you.
Good to see you, buddy.
It's been a couple weeks, right?
So much time and distance meant so little. As soon as the two men started talking,
Doesn't matter.
they would spend the weekend excavating memories.
It was an answer to prayer. If you want to know the truth, I don't know how many times I prayed for that man.
Means a lot in here. You love him. He's a comrade. That's on one of the towers, watchtowers.
Oh, yeah.
Remembering the hard days is always easier with an old friend.
And we was zigzagging down the mountain.
For the first time since they've been back from Vietnam, these two veterans finally get a welcome home.
Welcome
We
home,
made it.
buddy.
Thank you. You too.
A reminder, if you know an inspiring person or someone making a difference for others, just let me know by email at mbush@ksdk.com.
What a great story. All right, meteorologist Gary Frank joins us now with the Weather First forecast on this Labor Day weekend. Gary, what's going on?
Yeah, not much, right? It's warm, but we've seen more humidity. We saw more clouds than we did today over the last few days. It was completely blue sky. We really had a hard time. We look at our time lapse over Chesterfield. You can see how those clouds developed, and they were really more fair weather clouds. They didn't go too vertical or anything like that, but they were more numerous. They blanketed the sun a little bit, but that's about it. I think we'll see more of this over the coming days as we see a nice finish to the day. Not all that bad. Temperatures, though, got to 93 degrees, 91 in Chesterfield, so it was on the warm side everywhere, mid to upper 80s otherwise in many spots. So as far as what's going on right now, temps still holding steady in the 80s here. 82 degrees, a south breeze at 6 miles an hour. 85 is our normal. We're pretty far above normal on both not only the morning but the afternoon, and we see this dew point that's come up, and that's what I want to talk about. Our weather first fact today, 93 degrees is a top 16 warm day on this day, and then 75, where we started, is a top 10 warm day, top 10 minimum. So, it's a warm, high temperature overnight because we have, these dew points which have increased. We have these numbers in the 70s, and that's where that extra humidity is. So you typically don't see these, overnight lows drop below this overnight because the humidity has picked up, and that's why I think as our bottom line tonight. A low to mid 70s again. It's still muggy. We've got that south breeze at 5 to 10 miles an hour. Sunset at 7:29 tomorrow. And as I mentioned, this storm system to our south doesn't look like much. It really isn't much. And I want to look at a couple of those different factors. One, the leading edge of this, we have sort of some pop-up scattered storms. There's not much of a big line of this, but you'll look at the time frame. Look how those pop up, and then once we get to about sunset here, 7:30, they all go away. And that's what we're really going to look at. As that gets closer to us, the peak heating of the day is going to give us an opportunity for a pop-up storm. This may send you inside for 15 minutes. I'm not going to say it won't produce some brief heavy rain in a couple of spots because we'll watch for that tomorrow afternoon and evening, but I think most of it holds off until after your Labor Day plans are settled in. So I want you to be prepared for the second half of the day for a pop-up storm. Notice how it fizzles out. So that's where we'll carry you for now because I think temperatures are going to be pretty quickly in the low to mid 80s and into the low 90s by the afternoon. We'll carry that chance for rain. Not everybody involved in it, but if you do it, we'll send you inside for 15 to 30 minutes and could produce some brief heavy rain. It will feel much more warm than the air temperature is indicating. 93 feels like 101 in some cases. So we could get there again. It's going to be almost a repeat of what we encountered today. Now, over the next couple of days, we'll still see that opportunity. We have that south breeze and this moisture around, and these minor disturbances will pass through yet again on Tuesday. And then I think one that's really going to undercut our humidity will finally settle in and give us a brief chance for rain early Wednesday morning that will eventually switch the wind, and that's going to bring us a break from all this humidity. So for the next few days, we go from the low 90s back into the mid 80s, closer to normal. Our average is 85, but we go from 92 to 88. The key for us is in the afternoons or the mornings. We're in the low 60s. So I think we're not going to see those mid 70s quite as often. We'll just have to maybe see opportunities for rain here and there, especially late tomorrow afternoon and late in Tuesday afternoon. So for the most part, your holiday is going to be dry.
Sounds like the key is to fire up the grill early.
Early, yep.
All
Get
right.
that food inside and go back inside there.
Gary, thanks.
Yeah.
If you're driving home for the Labor Day holiday, stay tuned. Which local highway is causing the biggest headache for drivers? Next. Welcome back. We're launching a new segment called On the Move. 5 on Your Side's traffic chief, Paul Cook, takes a look at upcoming road projects, traffic, and travel issues in the week ahead. Whether it's on the way to work, getting the kids to school, or driving in holiday traffic, Paul has got you covered.
This week, Labor Day travel, slow roads on 44 and 70 for all that Lake of the Ozarks travel. 44 is where we concentrate today and trying to make it better.
And 5 on Your Side viewers describe concerns all along 44. Brian takes it all the way back from Springfield to Valley Park, but says the crowds and potholes are problematic. Dania tries to avoid 44 in Missouri entirely on her way back home to Collinsville in the Metro East. For your return trip on Labor Day, the folks at INREX, a global provider of traffic data, say the worst time for slowdowns is traveling in the peak hours of 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. The best way to avoid delay? Leave after 7 p.m. AAA officials say navigation apps and local departments of transportation can help steer drivers around long delays. So I asked MoDOT St. Louis District Engineer Tom Blair for other solutions.
A signalized route like Route 100 parallels I-44 to the most part.
Yeah.
So you could take Route 100 all the way out. You know, it's a different route though. You got other issues on Route 100.
Whether you're in Missouri or Illinois, it's best to try to leave early or even consider 70 as an option to 44 here on the last big weekend of summer. That's On the Move. I'm Paul Cook, 5 on Your Side.
And while some are sitting in traffic, others are feeling festive this weekend. The family-friendly events happening for the holiday. The Japanese Festival is taking over the Missouri Botanical Garden this Labor Day. Tomorrow is the last day of the festival. Vendors, live music, and performances are all there. You can even catch some sumo wrestling. It runs from 9 to 5 tomorrow. You can get your tickets online. And Opa! Get all the Greek food you can imagine at this year's St. Nicholas Greek Festival. You have one more day to check it out. It's in the Central West End at St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church, running from 11 o'clock to 6 tomorrow. For a look at the menu, just text the word Greek to 314-425-5355. We'll send a link over with some more of that information. And there you have it, 5 on Your Side at 10. Start your day with Today in St. Louis, tomorrow starting at 4 in the morning. Now here's Frank Cusimano with Sports Plus.